practically is all over this variety of supporters, customers. Others, of course, hates us. I mean, that's in any business. There's different attitude, a different approach.
See, when the editor makes errors, he has to redo things. That is what just happened right now. So I'm still Morten. I'm still from Online Print Symposium here in Munich. And I just tried to say that we were a really international event because there's a lot of Germans here. There's a lot of people from all over Europe. And now we're going to talk a little bit to Trond Erik and to Marc, who is working for Livonia in Latvia. But Trond Erik, he is from Norway and Marc is from Germany. So it is truly international. Before we talk a little bit about the technical stuff, Trond Erik, can you please tell us what is Livonia?
Livonia is a dedicated book printer in Riga, Latvia, working in markets like Germany and Scandinavia.
And I guess that most people understand what a dedicated book printer is, but can we get a little bit more details? What is there any kind of books that you are not doing, or are you both digital and analog? Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
No, it's books. We usually say we make three things: books, books, and books. And that can be any kind of books, but preferably cell-stitched, perfect bound, softcover, hardcover, but a book.
When you are in the book market, I think that some people, maybe not so many people in the printing industry more, because I think that the niches of the book print is actually proven that now it seems that the ones that have focused on books, they can actually make a business out of it. But I think from a general perspective, I think a lot of people are thinking of the book as a dying product. How do you see that?
I have only one thing to say to them, and that's to go to the book fair in Frankfurt, which is the biggest fair in the world.
And there's a lot of books, I guess.
There's a lot of books.
Yeah. And I guess that you print a quite considerable portion of those.
50 million of those books.
So that's why you are almost smiling. Okay. When we talk about the market for books and the way that you have dedicated to enter into this market, I totally understand that by focusing, I guess that is one of your key elements for success. And Marc, the last time I met you, that was in Grafcom in Sweden, where you were actually giving a presentation that was really exciting about how much automation is playing a role in Livonia. Can you just briefly talk about what kind of work you have been doing or what you're doing?
Yeah, also the main work is to buying the machine is just an investment to find these automated machines. The vendors like Heidelberg or Müller, they are building these machines. The main focus is really the workflow and software part behind it, the process changing, learning, teaching algorithms to make those plannings, learning to choose the right papers, the right folding schemas and those things. And that's what we are focused on right now, and we are nearly there, which was presenting in Grafcom. But it's not so easy. So that's also what I needed to learn, because I was very optimistic in the starting phase to make something like that within 1 year. Yeah? And this is unfortunately not so possible.
And I think that one of the things I like about both these types of events and Grafcom is, and maybe especially about you two guys, is that you're very open about talking about both the challenges and also how you see the market in the future. Is that because the secret is not in the technology itself?
Anyone, more or less, is welcome to Livonia Print, because what they see...
You said almost.
Yeah, there are exceptions, but almost anyone. And what they see, anyone can buy if you have the money. But of course, the secret is what is behind.
Yeah. So, and I guess that's one of the things I just heard that you spoke about, or there was a question to Bernd. I think it was actually, what is a success? And I think the answer is like humans, right? Because that is the main differentiator between, as you said, Trond, everybody can buy the equipment, and it's more about the mindset of how to doing that. And how do you do that? Because you also said just a second ago that you were only 2 people working on this project, aligned with some vendors, of course, right? But how do you get that work? I mean, you have to get the ideas.
I'm in a very lucky position that I have an owner of a company which has a lot of trust, and give me a green field and just do it. And if you are allowed in a company to think outside the box and you are not limited to any restrictions and directions, you're a free spirit. And with a free spirit, you find exactly those solutions, and then you don't need so much people.
You also mentioned that you're working with Crispy Mountains, and that you were kind of a first mover on maybe on the book market, and in that scale, because for people that don't know, Livonia has turned into be a quite big printing company, right? Before we talk about that, Trond Erik, can you tell me a little bit, because you have both offset and digital, what kind of equipment do we find in Livonia?
Offset is Heidelberg. Digital is Canon.
And to make a choice about technology, because you just said that maybe it's more the mindset than it's the technology itself. Is it just I was just in quotation about pure accident that it's Heidelberg and Canon, or is it because of the relations you have? Or how did that come across?
Well, I think our philosophy has always been that whether it's binding, printing, offset printing, digital or whatever, but anyone can make a box fairly good. But it's a question about the support and the partnership you get when you start to use it. And that's maybe more important, at least as important as the machine itself.
Because we have over the years been talking to a lot of printing companies, and it's funny because it's always Heidelberg is almost always mentioned as a very important partner. Also, HP is considered a very important partner, and Canon is also mentioned as important. But to get that right equipment and to find that partnership, does that require a lot of thinking about what you want to do eventually, or is it something that comes from a relationship that you had in advance?
As I said, relationship is there, the point. And the point is also when we started with Canon, that was a starting phase, because book production is different. We are working on offset-coated medias, we have offset materials, and we can't accept any digital medias in that regards. So it was for both a learning curve, but with a right partner, like in a marriage, you go through that path, and we work together and find the right solutions, and with Canon, we found them.
You are now here at, as we spoke about here, at the Online Print Symposium. Is it only because you can you also learn from here, or is it only to give away your knowledge?
I'm convinced you can learn. I mean, this is very modern people in the way of thinking and doing business. We come from more like conservative part of the business, trying to be modern, and we will be modern.
When you say conservative, is the Norwegian or the book market you're talking about?
The book producers, in general.
Okay, you're nodding, so you were just about you were wondering what his answer would be, right? And you said, I think you smiled when you said that on stage, that you wish you were able to do Livonia in Norway, but it was because of the expensive salary rates. But was that more from a starting point? Would you be able to do if you have like a fully automated workflow today? Would you be able to do book print and commodity print also in high labor cost countries? You think?
I think the biggest problem is that you have to find people, and then you can negotiate a salary. But even in Latvia, it's hard to find young people willing to put their education and everything into graphic business, because the reputation in the whole market is very bad. Books are dead, if not, but that's what people think.
Yeah. And I think that is actually, I know also from Intergraph that they have put in projects about making print a little bit more sexy to actually secure that we get young people into the industry, right? But are you also taking responsibility? Do you educate people yourself in your company?
Yeah, for sure, and for us it's really important, and I think our industry is sexy. I think it's the wrong perspective. We are the only industry where there is no lobbyism. We can make every decision we would like to have. If you want to make a digitized world, we can do that. So, and that's something what I think we need to learn to bring it also to the younger people, that if you want to be free and you want to do what you think is the right way, then our industry is the right direction, because there is no lobbyists who have no politics who are pushing into that. So I think we are in a sexy industry.
Final question. I was just curious, because if you heard the keynote from Bernd Zipper as well, he is talking about the product of one. And I think that a lot of people have been talking about the print of one also when it comes to books. Are we there yet?
Theoretically we can be. The problem is that I cannot produce for the price any publisher is willing to pay, and nobody's willing to pay for the price I can produce. So it's kind of a black hole.
So the product of one is not because of technical challenges, it's more because of the actual cost of setting up the machine, regardless of how smart it is to get it. But do you think, Marc, that is that's where it will go eventually?
Also, maybe. Therefore, also the publishing business needs to change in certain ways. I mean, for a product of one, a publisher needs to charge double, triple, or 4 times the price. Therefore, he needs to find a way to customize. So that means, let's take Harry Potter as an example. To make you willing to buy this book, you want to have your name as the main character. So for the publisher, it's like a mission impossible to go to the author and ask, can I change your names, because he was thinking something. So I think at the moment, there is not a business case in the publishing industry where I can see this model one. Educational is a different topic, yeah. But in that level where we are working with the normal publishers, I don't see it right now. And we start step by step.
Yeah. But I think that one of the things that we see as a trend when we talk, I visited a huge big huge book printer in New Jersey half a year ago, and what they were doing was like they were digging directly into the publishing system. So when they order books, it was maybe not an order of one, but it could be maybe 100 jobs of 10 or 5 or something.
This is a different topic. This is what is possible. Sure.
And that is something you do as well?
First you start to walk and then you start to run. From the workflow side and from that how we are aligning everything together, exactly that is possible. This is not a critical part.
Okay. So you will foresee a future that you can actually dig in directly into the order systems of the publishing companies and get data out and be sure that you have current and up to date and minimum stock requires them still at competitive prices?
For sure. Exactly, that's the target.
So Trond Erik, when you got into Livonia, were you like a conventional printer in Norway before you started this, or how's your history?
My education, bookbinder and printer.
So I guess that has been quite a journey for you, hasn't it?
It's been a nice and tough one.
Ups and downs. And how, I'm just curious here, it's the final question, I'm just curious because I think that especially Scandinavian countries to some extent is a little bit protective about having, made in Norway or made in Denmark or something like that. How has Livonia been perceived by the Norwegian printing industry? Is that like the big bad wolf, or is it now a partner that works together, or how are you the evil person of Norway, or?
I don't think so, and I think you will.
I don't think so either.
I think we'll find people which practically is all over this variety of supporters, customers. Others, of course, hates us. I mean, that's in the business. There's different attitude or different approach.